My name is Eileen Torres. I am a salsa dance instructor and a salsa historian. I make my living by teaching dance, by teaching the history of salsa music, and by organizing events related to salsa fun. My first memories of dancing salsa, my father had taught me when I was about 5 years old how to dance to rumba music like Bésame Mucho, those kinds of romantic ballads. And the most important thing that he taught me that I try to impart to my students is, I remember this phrase, keep the step. We would be dancing, he would say, keep the step, keep the step, keep the step. So we would be doing these things, and I'm like, where are we going? And he'd be taking me around him, keep the step. And when I got back to him, we were in perfect sync. I thought, oh my God, this is magic. When I teach, I really emphasize the necessity for staying on beat, not changing the rhythm, because when you get back to your partner, you will be in perfect sync again, like magic. The history of salsa, the term salsa didn't come into fashion until the 60s. Well, the music roots are in Africa. That is where the rhythm comes from. And then it came through Cuba. A very interesting fact about Cuba, that when the enslaved people from Africa were brought to Cuba, they were not restricted from continuing their drumming traditions. It was very different in the United States for two reasons. In the United States, we feared that the Africans would communicate from one encampment to the other via the drum. So that was one fear. And the other prevailing thought was, we need to acculturate them to our style of life. In Cuba, that didn't happen, and so the drumming traditions flourished, and that rhythm began seeping into traditional Cuban music, which at that time had more of the European flair from Spain. Prohibition period in the United States, when we couldn't drink legally, people used to fly to Havana. Havana was like Las Vegas today, and so people could go there and drink. They could go there and carouse, gamble, go to all the best shows. And what was happening there was the big band jazz era from the United States, and those musicians were playing in Cuba. And so people naturally gravitated to that infectious beat, even though it was considered lower class. But you couldn't help tapping a toe. And from there, the Palladium came into being. A new style of dance was born. Music was being now ingested by a very diverse group, not just Latinos. It was African Americans, a lot of Jewish people, the Italians, some Asians. And as Tito Puente said, the Palladium was the first instance of voluntary desegregation. Everybody, every color, every religion went up there to, in today's words, to jam. Everybody was going to dance, hear this great music. Everybody was dancing with each other. You didn't see that very much. You know, that wasn't really permitted in American society in that time, even in a cosmopolitan place like New York. But at the Palladium, all the rules were suspended.